Okay, we are live finally. As I'm getting messages from people that are telling me they're trying to get on the live. All right,
Yeah.
guys, welcome. Thank you for your patience. I had a few issues with my internet. Jenna was waiting for me very patiently. As you guys are tuning in, make sure you hashtag I am here. Drop your name so Jenna and I know who you are, as well as if you do watch this on the replay, hashtag replay, to let us know that you tuned in. So, welcome, Jenna.
Thank you. Good morning.
Oh, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you guys are. So I'm super excited to have Jenna with me this morning. She looks way better than me. I just got back from a hot ass walk. Zipped in the door, but I'm really excited to have her with me because her weight loss journey has been nothing but epic. Um, and I really wanted her to take the time to really share, like, really how she started, what made her decide, and really the mindset that she's been in to get the results that she has. I think, Jenna, you're at almost 30 pounds at 5 weeks, yes?
So I think we're like, what are we? I think we're 12 weeks in with
Mm-hmm.
you with each other here, and we're at 33 pounds.
Crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
That's pretty insane. I feel like
It is. It
for
is.
just a short amount of time.
It is. And I will actually, that's why I really wanted to have you here and just,
Yes,
to put some clarification around it for everybody.
for
Um,
sure.
Jenna isn't having what I would call typical results, meaning like she's having very fast results. And I've seen this happen a few times, and there's a lot of things that factor into it. A lot of it is mindset. She's just been steadily really on point. And as I said, there's a lot of things that factor into it. But anyway, what I wanted to make sure we clarify is, yeah, so everybody's not jumping on here going, holy cow, I
Whoa. Yeah.
whoa. Not absolutely normal. Jenna has been really on a great path. But anyway, that's what brought us here. So talk to us a little bit about
Okay.
your mindset because and really what brought you here, because I'm a true believer that that is actually a huge part of it. Nutrition is important. The workouts are important, doing the actual work, but I also feel like wrapping your mind around it is super important and what really can fast forward us into some killer results.
I totally agree. I completely agree. And I really feel like that's what started me, basically why I made the decision to work with you. Because for the better part of the last couple of years, I was working out consistently and I was eating what I thought to be healthy. Like I was like still living life, but I was making some good choices. But I really despise tracking, and so I was never good at it. I never wanted to do it and I was never consistent with it. And so that I felt like was a downfall when I was doing things on my own. But when I, discovered you again after 15 years, I, what I, what really pushed me to do it was I needed to be all in. And I was willing to surrender to what I was doing that wasn't working. And I was willing to take I was all in. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna, and I was really nervous to start. I was really unsure. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be one other thing that I fail at. So I was like, I was worried about that in the beginning, but I took it one day at a time, and I just said, just follow directions. I'm a really good follow directions girl. Like I can, as long as you tell me what to do, I can do it. And that was what I just pretty much surrendered to, was I just need to do what Jules asked me to do, eat all the food, drink all the water, and do all the workouts. And then we'll see what happens. And then we'll just hope it works. And in the beginning, I had such amazing results so fast that it really, I feel like, launched me into really then focusing on the mindset, because in the beginning I was really motivated by the results, and I was having to be honest with myself, was I felt still disciplined or restricted. Like there's so much that goes into the path of finding out getting into the zone, I guess you could say, especially after a few months. And so when I would say, obviously about halfway through it, after the first month, I really started to say, okay, I know I'm not going to be getting these amazing results continuing on this journey for the next year. So let's see, I need to really kind of hone in on this mindset of like, of getting clarity on what I wanted and really being able to support myself, so that when there were weeks that I didn't lose 5 pounds, or a week that I didn't lose anything, or I was up in body fat, or not, that doesn't really happen, but lower in body fat, but it just wasn't enough, or I didn't feel, or I was going to feel discouraged, I knew that I needed to prepare myself for those moments so that I could not start all of that negative talk and not let all of that really disappointing and kind of depression set in, which was my downfall when we weren't working together. And then before I found, I do feel like too, Jules, you unlocked something inside of me, like the combination of the workouts with the nutrition. Like I think that there's something that just like, it was like, oh, here's your key. And then it just kind of exploded, which was really good. And obviously amazing. Like I get comments all the time from all of my clients and family members, and they're just like so surprised that there's been such a quick turn. But I mean, it's not easy to get it all in every single day. Like I still, my house behind me, though my Christmas tree looks amazing, my house is a disaster. And there's just certain things that don't happen because I have to put me first. And I'm like, okay, as long as I'm in the right frame of mind, the laundry it'll get done.
Yeah. No, you have said so many things that I absolutely love, that I think probably are going to really hit, strong. I want to start with what you just said, like it all lingers together, but like you just said, really surrendering, and I think that's a huge piece, because I feel like sometimes we get stuck in the old patterns, that weren't working. And it's hard sometimes to get out of those older, comfortable patterns, even though they weren't working. They're almost like that old, comfortable blanket that we know to exist. And most of the time, and I'm going to kind of tag that into what you just said, is it's really wrapped around us not prioritizing ourselves. And I want everybody to know Jenna is a busy ass woman. Like, she's got 2 beautiful little girls. She's full-time stylist. Like, she is like all of you out there, I promise you, and probably even more. She's on her feet all day. And so when she says she's fitting things in and her house is a disaster behind her, I believe her. But the one thing that I think that is super important is she made a choice to prioritize herself. And I really love what you just said about, as long as you feel good, like the rest of the shit will fall in place.
Exactly.
And, it's kind of like what I say, like, if you put the rocks in the vase first, the sand will find a freaking place to fit.
It does.
Put the sand in first. You can't shove the rocks in. They just won't fit anymore.
It's so true.
And I think as women, specifically moms, and I consider my mom, because you guys are like all my children, I swear.
Oh, for sure.
Anyway, we tend to put ourselves last,
all the time. Well, and every second, I mean, I still feel like this, even with getting in all the food and all the workouts and all the water, and still taking care of the family. And I also have 2 cats, 2 dogs, a bunch of fish. Like, I mean, my house is insanity, but it's getting comfortable with every second being accounted for. So there's just not, like, I sat down on the couch last night and I was like, look, babe, like, to my husband, like, I'm sitting down. This is cool. Like, this is great. Of course, there's tons of laundry, but I'm going to take my 5 minutes and have my popcorn. Like, it's going to, but it's, you just kind of prioritize, and then you get comfortable being uncomfortable. Yeah. That's the one thing that hit for me in other tribe talks that we've had, is that, it's surrendering to the uncomfortable so that you can make it a part of your comfortable, and just starting to switch things out. It makes such a difference.
The thing is like, the one thing that I want to ask you is, so, your is a mess. You're getting comfortable being uncomfortable. I can hear a lot of people going, well, yeah. So, she's prioritizing herself, but she's got all this shit going on
Yep.
behind her. But, you also brought up as long as you feel good. So at the end of the day, my question to you is like, how do you actually feel about all this? Like, do you, and I guess I'm not really preferencing that, right? So hopefully you understand, but
I
I
get
think
what you're saying. Yeah.
there's a lot of people that are going, well, yeah, and exactly. This is why I don't prioritize myself
Right.
because look at, she's probably a stressed out mess. But I have a feeling that
No.
you probably feel maybe a little better than and less stressed.
Oh, for sure. Like I have been like when I was 33 pounds heavier and I was eating what I thought to be healthy, which was not. I was still eating out 3 times a week. You know what I mean? I was doing having all of the sweets. And even then, I felt like it was, I felt more stressed then than I do now, for sure. And it doesn't, and I don't feel like it's just the weight or it's just I think a lot of it is the mindset that ultimately I don't look at laundry as a priority anymore. I look at myself and my health and the health of my family as the priority. And then the rest of the stuff is fine. Like it just seems so much smaller than I used to make it. I used to make the little things so big. Like if the house wasn't clean, I couldn't get anything else done. Like that's how it was. And it just was so crippling in stress and anxiety. And I also, eating better and decreasing the amount of caffeine I had changed my anxiety levels dramatically. Like I was able to bring everything down and I just kind of coast on a wonderful, like, I'm more pleasant to be around for sure. But I don't have that kind of like really like, oh my God, I have so much to do. I have all this thing. And I just like calmly will make a list and I'll try to get through it. And if I don't, I don't. And if I do, then I just make sure that I was the one, I had all of the things that I needed to take care of. And as long as the kids are good and then everything else is great. Like it just doesn't have the same weight as it used to, if that makes sense.
Oh, totally. And I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
That's absolutely true. Like, in fact, you just hit on something that, I can relate. I was there. I lived that life. So, um, yeah, it is. It hits on a whole new level when you start to put yourself first, and it is a lot less stress. And I can totally relate. I'm sure that there are others out here. I see Jackie and Amber are watching us. I'm not sure who else is, but can relate to that like you do. It is like floating on a cloud. And it's amazing. I feel like as again, I'm going to say as women, I think I'm very
Mm-hmm. Oh,
as women,
yes. Yeah.
we tend to do this with ourselves. And we make the little things so big. And
Oh, absolutely.
I live in a much messier house than I used to 5 years ago before.
For sure.
Yeah. And I'm like, it's okay.
Well, and and then too, when you're active and you're eating right and you have all this energy, all those things can get done too, because you have the energy to do them. It's not like I'm going to work out and then I'm going to lay on the couch for 2 hours. Like, it's like, do you know what I mean? You still have so much energy to be productive. And then the more that would always motivate me too, the more I could get through my list, the more productive I could be. Then it was contagious and it just kept going day to day. So it's kind of, yeah, we're on a roll.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And it's funny you say that. I actually, I think it's on my Google reviews or something. There's a girl. She was when I very first started doing it, one of the very first women I started working with. And she actually wrote in her review, she was like, when I came to Jules, it was the first time I really figured this out. Like, she's like, I did not think I had time. She's like, I didn't think I had
Yep.
time to get healthy. I didn't think I had time to eat right. I didn't think, and she too, she was not a hairdresser. She was a lash artist and had a very busy family, very much like you, was always working. In fact, I think she did my lashes for a while. And she said, turns out I had all the time in the world. She's like, I just didn't have the energy. And then
Exactly.
she's like, once I found the energy, she's like, I could meal prep my own foods, find the time to work out and feed my family, which she goes, by the way, I was never
Yeah.
making dinner for my family before either. I was buying takeout. She goes, now I'm making them dinner, meal prepping my food, getting my workouts in, and I haven't missed, any appointments. And I'm like, she goes, it turns out it really wasn't, I didn't have time. I didn't have the energy.
Yep.
So you hit the nail on the head there. And I think
That's a big deal.
we don't recognize it.
Yep.
We think that we're the Energizer Bunny in reality.
Right.
I
Oh, totally.
love it. So tell me this as we're getting, so I want to open it up to some questions, but if you could give anybody else out there advice or even your future, your past self, if you could turn around and look at her, which is probably some people that are watching this, what would be that advice that you would give them?
Okay. So I'd say the piece of advice is to take it one day at a time. Like you don't have to make it this big, huge commitment. I'm going to lose all this weight. I'm going to get this skinny. I'm going to, it doesn't have to be so big, especially in the beginning. Like what's the word I'm looking for? Like just kind of like just take little bits, like kind of just take little bits and just do and recommit every single day. And then just take it one day at a time. Like eat all the food that day, like today. Eat all your food, drink all your water, and do your workout. And then tomorrow morning, do the same thing. And you just do that commitment every single day, and it'll get you to the consistency. Like, because I feel like one of the biggest downfalls to a lot of women who feel like they don't have time is staying consistent. That was a huge problem for me. So my past self would be like, just take it one day at a time, because I would look at all these big, huge goals and big, huge things, and it would just feel so daunting. But if I kind of just like took little bites out of the goals and I set smaller ones, that would really reframe it for me so that I could handle that. And then those big goals don't seem so big. And now they're just like, oh, this is good. And then now it's every week, it's like a new motivation for another milestone. Like my goal this week is going to be like, well, I really want to get to 35 pounds lost. How easy is that going to be in the next like 4 or 5 weeks? I'm going to be like, I could get to 40 pounds lost, so you kind of just chunk it out into little bits. And that makes it, I think, a little bit easier especially in the beginning. That would be my biggest advice.
I think that's awesome. And I think and I'm actually really glad you said that, because I think far too many women will approach it. I get in the beginning, it's overwhelming.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
This is why we do what we do and why we start the way that we do, with an onboarding and small little steps. I like to say, I like to warm the frog up in the cup,
Yep.
not put you in
Exactly.
the hot, boiling hot water. But another thing, well, you and I have a similar background. So when you were talking about, and I think you probably have heard this before in several other hard, it's really about not eating the elephant in the room and one bite. It's just like eat the elephant one bite at a time. Yep. Basically, if you look at it as the whole elephant, it's quite scary and daunting.
Well, and then creeps in the fear and the anxiety, and then all of that negative stuff. Like it's just not going to serve you well in the beginning, and really anytime during your journey. But I feel like if you can get it down in the beginning to really chunk it out, then it'll help prepare you for the rest of it.
No, I like that, because in the beginning you talked about the fear of starting, because we often were afraid of failing. And, that ties into I think you so as we circle this all the way back and we really, focus in on the point that really helped Jenna, I believe, propel her forward into, some results that might have been a little out of the ordinary, is really the mindset. But she talked in the beginning, if we circle all the way back, about how she entered this. And she even said, she's like, she had fear. And this is, if anybody out there listening to this is saying, this isn't me, I know it is you, because it's me sometimes, afraid of failing. And, so here I go again, I'm going to do this. I'm going to invest this money. I'm going to trust in this, and I'm going to fail. And oh my God, and that's a lot of pressure to put on ourselves. So
Yep.
I think what I see a lot is when that's not released in the beginning and it carries over into the program, it can be very I don't want to use the word detrimental, but it can really stop the results basically. And there's another word I'm looking for, halt. That's not it either. But it can be very sabotaging isn't the word. There's another word I'm looking for here, and it'll come to
I know what you mean.
but it
Absolutely.
will, and that's what I see a lot because we're not releasing this. So I have to agree, like you just gave some really amazing advice to anybody that's listening, is really to take it in small steps, because that's what's going to help you release that anxiety and fear that, oh my God, what if I fail? Because now it's very probable that you could, because that's the only thing on your mind. It's the fact that
Exactly.
right. And it is what it is, the universe, whether you believe in the universe manifestation or anything like that, it's facts. We manifest what's in our mind. What we repeatedly say or do is what we do. So if we're telling ourselves consistently,
perception is reality. Like your
yeah.
perception is your reality. So you have to be able to make those kinds of changes so that they serve you better going into the program. I think that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
For sure.
I absolutely love it. Well, guys, please drop us any questions that you might have. Would love to hear from you. And again, if you guys are just joining us now, please hashtag I am here and let us know your name. I see we've got a few different viewers in here. Or if you watch it on replay, let us know with the hashtag replay. But we are here to answer a few questions. Otherwise, it was so fun having you here, Jenna.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thank you for accommodating my very busy schedule.
Absolutely. I love it. And just for those of you that may be wondering, Jenna and I do go back like 15 years. I used to be in the industry. And Jenna was an educator for me when I lived in California. So I ran I believe I was the director of education for a brand, and I had the West Coast, and Jenna was one of my very great hairdressers, artists out there, and she still is, by the way. I'll just a little plug there. So she's a hairdresser.
Thank you.
Look at that hair anyway.
Yeah.
Yes. So we go back a long time.
We do. Many, many moons ago.
Many moons. And here we are again. All right, girl. Right. Well, I'm going to let you go. I do appreciate you. Thank you so much. And guys, if you tune in later and you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. Jenna and I will check back and make sure that we get answered. But thank you guys all for tuning in. And thank you, Jenna.
Peace. Thank you, guys. Thanks, Jules.